Alright, so it has been about 3 weeks and I think 2 days or 3 days since I started making my action skills mod, and it is finally available for you to download on Nexus in the link in the description. Today we're going to be doing a very quick overview of all the features so that you can know if you want to download it, and later this week I will be doing a very in-depth analysis of all the changes made by the mod to work as sort of like a little wiki for it so that people know what's going on when they're playing, because obviously there's no Wikipedia for a mod I made today, so that'll be the easiest way to do that. So let's cover the changes. First, we go to the skills menu here and you'll see there's a bunch of new tabs. The first one here is your combat skills tab. You have blunt, blade, pierce, archery, pistol, shotguns, rifles, automatic rifles. I assume all the ranged ones are fairly self-explanatory and I don't have to do anything there. Blunt is clubs, batons, knuckles, sledgehammers, as well as salvaging tools. Like, you can level it by salvaging tools, and salvaging tools will gain the benefits of it as well. This mod includes all the functionality of tools are melee weapons, one of the other mods I made. You do not need that one with this, and it probably isn't compatible with it either because it makes changes that would be completely unneeded and would probably mess up something in this mod. So if you're going to play with both of those, just leave tools or weapons behind and play with just this, because it has it already. Blades are axes, chainsaws, knives, machetes, of course. There's an icon here on every skill, by the way, that will tell you directly how to level every single skill if you're in doubt about how it works, and it'll tell you what each rank will unlock for you, as well as a max in the description tab there. Piercing weapons is spears, pickaxes, and shovels. Let's head over to utility skills. This is your non-combat stuff. Let's start at the bottom. We have scavenging, which you increase by looting containers, and it gives you loot stage and looting time bonuses. Salvaging is pretty self-explanatory. You level it by salvaging and it makes you better at salvaging. Mining, same thing but for mining. Survivalism, you currently level by eating and drinking. I would like to add additional functionality later that will allow you to get it from farming and harvesting corpses. But that functionality isn't something I can just pop out of the base game as is. I don't think. There might be a workaround that I'm going to try at some point, but what I'll have to do otherwise is make a script for it, and that's fine. It'll just take time. And you can also read skill magazines to increase every single one of these skills. I'll go over those later in a bit. And survivalism gives you food and water reduction. Athletics gives you stamina while running, which means you can sprint for longer basically, and it gives you stamina, and you level it by pretty much every form of movement or reading its skill magazine. Armor basically only affects directly the degradation of your armor, but the armor skill governs your access to the perks that would do all the more interesting stuff. We'll go over that in a second as well. You can level this not just by taking damage, but also just wearing armor and moving around, but it levels much slower than athletics would. Engineering, as it says, is leveled by upgrading and repairing, and its direct effect is just faster crafting, except for in campfires and chemistry stations. I will add potentially more ways to level this later, but I have found it's actually quite easy to level your engineering regardless. Science is currently leveled by using meds and drugs, and that includes using it on other people, by the way, and it increases your chemical crafting speeds. If all these skills seem like they have kind of like whatever effects, it's mostly because most of these skills exist to gate perks, which do more interesting stuff. I'm going to add additional functionality to level science as well. I'm not sure what yet, but something I will probably have to make a script for, hence why it's so slow. One of the better ways to level science is of course going to be reading books, because that kind of is how you would learn science in real life. So there's medical journal or wiring 101 for that. And then speech is the one I told you about in the original video. It currently doesn't work as learn by doing. Really, you can't buy or sell or do quests to level it because the Fun Pimps put the basic functionality of that in, but it doesn't actually do anything. So I linked it up and then found out it doesn't do anything. So that's why the skill's here. I done a bunch of work to make it essentially ready to work, but I'll have to go and make the script to allow that to actually happen. Those scripts are going to take a while to make. It'll require a lot of learning on my part. I figured it was better to get this mod out quickly. Like I said, I was originally aiming for a month, but we got it out in 3 weeks, so that's pretty good. And yeah, I will add the additional functionality. This is like my top priority, is making speech work like that, but there's kind of an asterisk next to that. Basically, the way that speech currently works in the mod is the main way you're going to level up is by reading your business secrets magazines, and those spawn very, very frequently and are cheaper at the traders. So the main way you are going to level up your speech skill is by going to traders and buying things, and you'll only be able to buy things if you sell things. So in a way, it is kind of learn by doing, but only on a technicality. You level it by the reading, not the actual trading, but the main way to obtain them is by trading. So in a sense, your playstyle would be pretty much exactly the same. But yeah, I will add more direct functionality so it's more immersive and more intuitive at some point. We have the melee perks. I won't go into incredible detail on all of these because we'd be here for a while. That'll be for the other video. Sexual Tyrannosaurus is your stamina melee perk. You're pretty much always going to want this. And Brutal Strikes is one of the 2 perks in the mod that requires just player level, because there was no strength skill to base it on. And I didn't want to make it athletics because I thought it was just a little bit boring, but this is your main melee headshot and decapitation perk. There is also one for each melee combat style, so you can stack them both together with different abilities. The Brutal Strikes take 2 levels worth of skill points, by the way. That's something I probably should have clarified by now, is 5 points is actually only 1 level. You get 5 every level like you used to. And this one's gated behind player level. You'll have to be a pretty high level to max that out. The other one is Crippling Shot, which gives you massive boost to leg dismemberment with ranged weapons. Because what skill would that be based on? I didn't want to make it like a combined thing where you have to be good at pistols, rifles, shotguns, and machine guns, so I thought just do player is fine. Yeah, indeed, you'll see here at melee perks there's a scroll down to see more thing, and indeed you do have this little swatch here, which you can use to click through the pages. There's tabs and there's pages, so keep that in mind. And it does tell you whenever there's more to see. For example, ranged perks here, if we scroll down, we get to rifle perks, which has scroll down to see more, and we can scroll down again, and then you're at the end. There's perks in here that I've gone in more detail in another video, but there's a bunch of stuff for pretty much every ranged play style. You've got like snipers, assault rifles versus machine guns, you've got archery for bows and crossbows, as well as 9mm playstyles and 44 playstyles. For your mental perks, you have Physician, Daring Adventurer, Charismatic Nature. Demolitions Expert is your damage perk for explosives, because learn by doing explosives didn't make much sense, and it's governed by your science and engineering skills. And Reduced to Atoms is your dismemberment chance with explosives, and that is again science and engineering. Robotics also didn't make sense for learn by doing. It would also be very difficult to implement. So you have your damage perk, your decapitation perk, and you have a perk here I decided to add that lets you place additional turrets. It sounds really powerful, but if you try and place down 4 robotic turrets, you're never going to be able to keep them all loaded. So really what it does is allow you to use 2 robotic turret ranged weapons and 2 sledge turrets as well. And to add to that, I've increased the distance you can get away from the turrets, just to add more variety to that playstyle, I guess. You can try and use 4 of the same turret if you want. It's probably not going to be very practical, but I don't really care. If you want to try that, go ahead. Physical perks here, we have Health Nut, which gives you just max health and stamina in exchange for having high athletics. Parkour, I've actually nerfed a little bit because it is one of the most powerful perks in the base game. It no longer completely removes fall damage, and it only gives you 1 block of jump height now instead of 2. So you will find playing without a base to be a bit harder, but not impossible. Another thing to add as well is I've removed every single instance of stamina on kill, and I'm pretty sure that's a controversial change, but I think that's more in the spirit of the mod, as it's aiming to make the game more difficult, more immersive, and more like grounded, I guess. So there's no stamina on kill, all those effects have been replaced with other things. The Suited Up perk is my answer to the Light Armor and Pack Mule perk. Basically, Light Armor in the base game becomes too similar to Medium Armor in my opinion, because it just gives you so much of a boost in armor rating. Instead, this gives all armor additional critical resistance and makes it so that if you're wearing any armor, you get carry capacity per item. So Pack Mule, Light Armor have been merged, but Light Armor's perk is not just for Light Armor, it actually benefits all armors, so there's nothing specific about Light Armor that needs to be changed, which means that even if you're playing Light Armor, you still have a perk to go for, but it doesn't homogenize the armor mechanic in 7 Days to Die, basically. In service of that as well, Medium Armor will now give you resistance to bleed, abrasions, lacerations, and infections if you max out its perk. Not a huge amount, it's like 20% for a full suit, so it's not huge. And Heavy Armor will give you resistance to stuns, concussions, fatigues, sprains, and Oh, that's it. Per piece of equipped heavy armor, again, 20%. And you also get a small melee damage boost for wearing full heavy armor, because I wanted to make the different armors more distinct rather than less distinct, because the base game 7 Days to Die is kind of like whatever. It doesn't really matter what you pick. They're all fine, especially since urban combat has an effect, which was here, called Adrenaline, which made you not have a movement speed penalty in combat. Now that has been removed and there's a much more impactful choice for the style of armor you want to wear, and I replaced it with a little carry weight boost because why not? Technically speaking, Suited Up doesn't give you enough inventory capacity to max out your full inventory, so I thought I would give you a little extra bit here with urban combat. The rest of these are pretty self-explanatory. Hidden Strike from Shadows, Infiltrator, Iron Gut, Pain Tolerance, Animal Tracker, Huntsman. They've all just kind of been consolidated into a smaller amount of perks. Most of them do exactly the same thing, just for less investment, because there's more perks. The Camel is a water saving perk, I guess, and Iron Gut has been changed to only be the food saving thing. I thought that was more interesting. And we have the mining one here. We have Miner 69er, Mother Lode, and Junk Miner. They're vanilla, basically, but they're half as effective, because obviously half of it comes from the skill. Salvage Operations has been split into Salvage Ops and Scrap Heap Master, because I didn't think it was fair that Salvage Ops was Miner 69er and Mother Lode in one perk. So this is your yield and this is your block damage. They've been split up. Bad Mechanic is like my answer to the removal of Perception Mastery, because I saw a lot of people actually really like the effects of that. So you can get steel from cars using Steel Worker here, requires 50 salvaging, and Wheel Dealer can give you wheels when harvesting cars, which I just thought would be a nice thing to throw in, and obviously it gives you more gas from cars as well. Just something to give the salvaging playstyle a little bit more work with. Fast Eddie is your opening speed perk. Quality Joe is your loot stage perk. Lockpicking, I'm sure you understand. And Treasure Hunter is exactly the same as it is in vanilla. That brings us to the crafting tab, which has been fully fleshed out into 3 pages. Advanced Engineering gives you basically everything you would expect it to, except for forge related things. You'll see Dew Collector, Workbench, Lockpick, Cement Mixer, Nail Gun. Plus it gives you the advanced engineering effects, except for the XP for electricals, which comes from Electrician now, and this will unlock all of the basic electronic stuff that you have as well. I think it unlocks everything eventually, yeah. Blacksmithing is a merge skill, so basically what it does is it gives you everything related to forges, and it governs the quality of your melee weapons and tools. So Forge, Bellows, Anvil, Crucible. Nothing on the last one, it just gives you level 6 melee weapons and tools. This governs all your melee weapons and tools, which adds less variety in the quality of things you can craft. I honestly don't care about it that much. The Fun Pimps kind of have that ideology of like, oh, we're gonna make you go through everything at every level. I don't really care. If you want to wait until you're able to craft a level 6 impact driver before you craft one, go ahead, whatever, I don't care. Blunt crafting gives you the steel club, knuckles, and sledgehammer. Blade crafting gives you the steel machete. These require 50 in their respective skill, by the way, but you will still be beholden to your engineering skill to determine quality. And pierces for spears. Mining tool crafting has steel pickaxes, axes, and shovels. Motor tools gives you your auger and chainsaw, and salvage tools gives you your ratchet and impact driver. Bow crafting is another blended skill which gives you both your quality to your archery weapons, and it unlocks the actual archery weapons as well. Gunsmithing is just the quality of your guns, and then all of your guns are unlocked by their gun skill specifically. And I've made automatic rifles more expensive because they're better. They simply are, so they cost more. Ammo crafting is now a skill. Now you don't have to get these perks to unlock, I think, basically anything in the game. Almost everything has a schematic now, except the bulk crafting is now stuck behind these perks. The perk is quite cheap though. It only costs like 8 skill points, which is like a level and a half to max out each one. And they are basically unlocked in this order. So like 9mm is the easiest to unlock and 7.62 is the hardest. Bows are separate. Bows have like science requirements in some of them, and some of them have engineering requirements, because you have such a weird array of arrows to craft. Armor crafting is... oh, there's a localization error there. Oh, I see, I didn't use a backslash. I'll fix that, that's fine. What this does is unlock armors and your armor quality. You unlock heavy armors last, because there isn't a great way to do progression for the armors the Fun Pimps had. Obviously, their way of doing it in 2.0 is once you unlock one armor, you unlock all of them, and I didn't want to do it just like that. So there's currently no schematic for it because it would be a massive pain in the ass to make a schematic for all these armors. So you just have to use your armor skill, unfortunately, currently. I will add schematics later, but it was causing a lot of errors when I was making it. So I just decided, you know what? No, let's just do the armor crafting skill. And heavy armors are unlocked last. To give some sense of progression to a progression system that didn't really have progression, I guess I could have added like light armor crafting, medium armor crafting, and heavy armor crafting, but that feels like padding, pun not intended. Master Chef, you get it, it gives you everything. Grease Monkey is your vehicles, as well as the old effects of Grease Monkey are just in there as well. Robotics crafting will give you the stun baton, and your quality to your robotics, and your robotic turret ammo, and your robotic turrets, because robotics requires a lot of skill investment to level, so you get more out of it. And explosives unlocks all your explosives, except your rocket launcher is still governed by gunsmithing, because to my mind it would be the same skill essentially. So yeah, that's all the perk changes. There are book changes as well, and I'm going to give you the quick version of them. All stamina on kill has been replaced by just giving you 20% more headshot damage, as well as basically standardizing that for all the weapons, so now the Knuckles also don't have the 7th curse. I think this is more powerful than 7th curse, so does it really matter? All the books that used to just give you ammo, I need to fix that as well. The high power 44 Magnum one has not switched up, but all of these that used to just give you ammo now give you some kind of useful effect. Like this one gives you reload faster. It is worth noting, by the way, that level 6 here will work just fine. I have changed the perk. This is a localization error, and that just means it's not telling you the right thing. Additionally, I made that one thing from Night Stalker weaker, because fuck you, I'm mean. Oh, and I nerfed sledgehammers to be less ridiculous. So before you run off and download the mod and tell me what you think about it, just a couple of things to note and remember. You do not need melee weapons or tools that will break this mod because it's not compatible, but the functionality of it is in the mod, so if you want that, just play the mod. Better water and food doesn't work with this yet, but I am working on a patch for it already. If you try and load it, it'll give you a load of warnings and you can get some pretty nasty crashes. I figured it was better to just put this out sooner rather than keep it behind so that I would have a patch for my least popular mod. I figured most people would prefer to just have access to it sooner, with the caveat that you can't use it with better water and food just yet. It works, I think, fine with improved loot experience. I don't think there should be any issues there. There might be some adjustments to the loot tables made by that mod, which will affect the spawn rate of schematics, but otherwise it should just work fine. If I forgot to mention, there are a bunch of schematics in this mod that should cover damn near everything you need to craft. So if you don't want to invest skills into learning new schematics, you don't have to. You'll just have to wait until those appear in the loot tables, which is going to take a while. So that's kind of like your trade-off. You get more skill points, because obviously there's no forgetting elixir in this mod, because it would break it basically. So whatever perk choices you make are kind of final for your character, so choose wisely. And that does also come with the caveat that if you invest in a crafting skill and then you find the schematic for it, those skill points were wasted. So you have to make a choice there. Realistically, you get 300 levels. There should be no difference really to you unless you're trying to get absolutely every combat perk in the game and stuff. In which case, just don't get the crafting skills, I guess. That's the one issue there. And for my other mod, improved zombie threat, that works with this completely fine. There's no issues at all. They don't interact in any way. So, and any other mod that you want to put with this, if that mod relies on the learn by reading system, it's not going to work. You're going to need to either get me to make a patch or get the mod author to make a patch or make a patch yourself. This mod can't really be compatible with anything that relies on learn by reading because it kind of rips it out completely. So yeah, that's just gonna be the truth of it, so your compatibility options are gonna be quite limited for now. But yeah, I'm gonna go in a more in-depth analysis of this mod and talk about every single change I've made basically in a longer video later this week, and I'm gonna start a series where we play through with the mod and see how it really plays, see if we can get that balance perfect for the real version of the mod based off of direct playtime. I have playtested the mod. I've done a couple of the first 7 days worth of playthroughs where I've adjusted the XP on certain things. For example, mining was way too fast at the start and archery was way too slow, so I changed those a little bit and those should be more balanced now, but it will require a lot more playtime as we go to really dial it in. But once those 2 videos are out, I will link them both on the screen right here, and you can click one of them when you want. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. I hope you enjoy the mod,